for me, working with a chronic illness is really about coming to terms with who we are and then making that happen and making my dreams and my passions and the way that I want my world to happen actually occur. And I say that with like the gusto that it's going to happen, but at the same time, my story is that I have about 30 years of experience in alternative health, and I have various degrees and teaching certifications and whatnot, and I went from having a full practice to being a stay-home parent, and then going back and having a full practice. And in that process, my own chronic illness of I have tremors and muscle cramps and spasms, and I lose my balance and various other things in that realm have gotten worse. And it became clear after a couple of years that I wasn't going to be able to continue on with having a full-time clinic, and then it became clear that I wasn't even going to be able to continue on with having a part-time clinic. That the process of actually seeing clients and doing physical hands-on work and seeing clients and doing energy work was more than I could I want to say was more than I could do, but really the fact was that the price to do it was too high. I could make that happen, and yet I chose not to, right? So I think that's part of some of our lessons is where do we draw that line about self-care and nourishment. And it just became clear that I could, in fact, continue to see clients all day, but that I would come home and be in pain, and that wasn't the kind of life that I wanted to be living. And so I transitioned my business and really took all the training and all the experience and the business training and all the stuff and wisdom that I had gained over the years, and transitioned into a coaching and teaching and public speaking business. And so today I own Laughing Dragon Coaching, and I help people reconnect with who they are at their core and then bring that out into their life. Now, that may look like something along the lines of being a parent and your kids have now gone to school and you've gotten them settled in school, and you all of a sudden go, now what? And all the stirrings of your soul is what I like to call them. Those things that just right under the surface that keep us up that night, that keep pestering at us, that what about those dreams, those passions, those things that we know that we're meant to be doing. I help people reconnect with those and reconnect with who they are, and really make that solid foundation, and then bring that out into their life, and bring that into their life with so much joy and enthusiasm and laughing as possible, because I think that's what we need. And so as I transitioned my own business, I started to look at that, and I started to look at and how I could then bring that and that wisdom of my own process into my coaching, into my own practice. So it's I think the biggest struggle for me is one of doing too much and saying yes too often, and realizing, I used to be able to do X, Y, and Z, and now I can only maybe do X and sometimes Y. And so being aware of that and noticing when I start to feel, and really being aware of what that is in my body and how that feels in my body. And that's one of the things I teach my clients is that discernment, and how do we discern within ourselves? How do we know when we're within our comfort? How do we know within our own ease? And where do we start to say, oh, I've got this funny feeling. I don't think I'm supposed to do this. And starting to pay attention to that, because as people with chronic illnesses, I think the things that we have to do are vast, and the ways that we learn to take care of ourselves need to also be vast. And that bringing in that subtle nature of just paying attention. What am I saying? What is my body saying? What am I hearing? Or, am I hearing the tone of my voice? Am I noticing that, wow, I'm really sort of edgy and irritable with my family all of a sudden. I've kind of yelled at my kids a little more than I'm comfortable with. What's going on with me? and to pay attention to, wow, when that's happening in my world, I'm in more pain and I need to take note of that and then deal with it. And then also, from a business perspective, it's like when I'm having those days, I also know, oh, I can't get as much done. And so when I work with my clients and they're setting out, and sometimes we discover that one of the things they want is to make their own business. And so as we go through that process of business development and making a business plan and looking at, okay, what are we going to do for goals? How much are you going to get done? What's reasonable? What's not reasonable? And I always like to say, make a week goal or a month goal, not a day goal, because it gives us leeway to have ease in our lives. And this is so important, whether you have a chronic illness or not, to set yourself up for success. And so what I work with is, let's set a weekly goal. Let's set a monthly goal. Depending on where you are, let's set a goal that has a lot of buffer built into it. So that if we're having a bad day, or we have a sick kid, or we have something else come up, we then aren't being crazy because we haven't met our goals, our business isn't doing what we want, we haven't gotten this done, or we haven't gotten that done. And so setting those realistic goals is really important. And it might mean that your business doesn't take off or doesn't go zooming or achieve something that other people around you look like they're doing. And that's the other piece, is we can't compare ourselves to anyone else. We can only compare ourselves to ourselves, and to know that within ourselves what we're capable of doing. And that is a fantastic role model, that when we show up and we just keep putting one foot in front of the other and talking about our process and talking about the fact that life is a journey and life is a marathon and it's not a sprint. We role model and we show up and we make an environment, we make an opportunity for other people to say, oh, I don't have to make myself anxious about this. I don't have to do X, Y, and Z and cause everyone around me also to be anxious. I can set it up so that I have ease and comfort in my life and also achieve my goals, also make my dreams happen, also fulfill the purpose that I want to be doing. That those things are all possible, that we are all meant to be here to have a thriving life, and that setting ourselves up for success is so crucial. I talk about a couple years ago, my family and I went to the Statue of Liberty, and I love that there's a quote, there's a museum underneath, and we went and toured the museum, and there's a quote that talks about how she's holding the lantern up to illuminate the path for those who come after her. And I want to transform that quote. I want to talk about, not only are we holding that lantern up for those who come after us, but we're holding that lantern up for ourselves as well. And we're holding that lantern up for those around us in community, because we don't get to where we want to be with the goals that we want to be and making a difference and creating a movement and making huge things happen in the world because we are that people. We don't get there without community. We don't get there without supporting each other. And particularly if you have a chronic illness, you have to help. You have to show up and realize that we are all in this together, and that we all show up and we all participate. And that when I talk about my path and you talk about your path and you talk about your struggles, we find a commonality, and that within that, we set ourselves up for greater success. We set ourselves up to be those fierce leaders who are continuing to show up, who are continuing to just be calm and confident, and to know that we are going to achieve our goals, that we have our path. We know what our path is going to be. We know what our life is going to look like. We know what we want to be doing, and that we are going to keep putting one foot in front of the other until we get there. And to have that plan is so, so important. And then to have the community to let you succeed in that plan is also vitally important. So I think my three takeaways for tips is to set reasonable goals, to set yourself up for success. Don't set daily goals. Don't open up your planner and say, oh, I'm going to get all these things done today. Set weekly goals, and to also set them so that you allow space for things to happen. What that does is to really allow yourself to have a bad day, to have a day where, I just am not getting as much done today, and to let that be okay. Because when we treat ourselves with grace, that shows in what we do. And then the second thing I would say is to make sure that you have community around you and to talk about what's going on in your life. That we are so often, we are so often here in this Facebook world, in this online world, putting out one thing and behind the scenes is happening something else. And then sometimes even when we think we're talking about something a lot, we may not be. And that you will find a community of other people who have chronic illnesses, a community of other people who are dealing with being an entrepreneur and having chronic illnesses, a community of other people who know how to do this, who have had success, who can show you, who can help you, and to reach out and ask for help when necessary. And I guess my third takeaway, to sort of reiterate what I talked about, was to just have your clearly articulated ideas about what you want to be doing, to know what your path is, to know what direction you want your life to be going. That is so crucial, and I find it even more so when we're dealing with people who have chronic illnesses, that we can get knocked off of our path so easily. But if I know, okay, my goal is to have this many clients, my goal is to have a business that's doing X, Y, and Z. My goal is to have this many speaking engagements. I know that my path is that way. And I also know that my path is not just business. And that's the other piece to this. That my path is not just business. My path is my business, and it's my family, and it's all the other things in my life. And to really have a well-rounded life, that's what keeps us sane, and that those moments are really, really important. That it's not just, oh, I'm going to do the next business thing, but it's, I'm going to do the next business thing, and then I'm going to go play a game with my kid, or I'm going to go on a walk with my sweetheart, or I'm going to go do something else. To have that balance is really, really important. So keep showing up. Know that you, as a person with a chronic illness, can achieve anything in the world that you want to be doing. And do not let your illness dictate what that is or how you can do it. That anything is possible. To find what brings you the most joy and then embody that in everything that you do, because those are the things that you are meant to be doing. You can find me at laughingdragoncoaching.com or on Facebook as Laughing Dragon Coaching. Thank you much.